All right, all praise, glory, and honor is most certainly due to the Most High Elohim of the patriarchs Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I want to say peace to each and every one of you in the name of His Son, Yehoshua HaMashiach, who we know as Jesus the Christ. It's our blessing each and every single time that I can come before you to bring a message contained in His Word, and never do I count it as a light thing to do so. And I just want to deal with a basic topic, and it's basically rooted in the premise: you reap what you sow. That is for an individual, but it is also for a nation as well. And I want to talk about national wickedness and how it brings about judgment. You know, people don't realize that when it comes to the Lord, if you continue to sin as a nation, the Lord will take you from your position of prominence and bring you down to the depths of destruction and obscurity. That if you look at the course of human history, you see kingdoms rise and fall. Well, the Lord, when a nation becomes so wicked, He will remove that nation. And I want you to consider that, because that's something that you should consider, being in a nation that is morally defunct. We're in a nation for a number of reasons that would I could describe that, and that would be accurate. That is morally defunct. When you look at the abortion rate, when you look at the same-sex marriage, when you look at the murder rates, when you look at various aspects of American culture, you see that the country is not a righteous nation. I want to pick it up in Proverbs. And so what the Bible tells us is that He will punish those nations also, that when they deal with so much sin, He will remove them. This is and punish them. This is Proverbs the 14th chapter. I want to pick it up at verse 34. Proverbs 14 and verse 34 reads, "Righteousness exalteth a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people." See, all this stuff, America would do all kind of wickedness and then say, "God bless America." You have to understand that it cannot be that there's no repercussions for behavior. That's with the individual, but it's also with the nation. Let's go to Genesis just to show you an example of this. This is Genesis. I want to pick it up around the 15th chapter. Uh, Genesis, the 15th chapter. And let's pick it up at, let's see here. Genesis, the 15th chapter. Notice what He tells. This is the covenant that the Lord goes in with Abraham. It's renewed here, okay? And notice what He says here. I'm in Genesis 15 and verse 13. It says, "And He said unto Abram, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years." So he's talking about his seed, his progeny, and how they will be afflicted. And then He says, "And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward they shall come out with great substance." Now that nation ultimately was Mitzrayim, or Kemet, or Egypt. And they did come out with great substance. They spoiled the Egyptians when they came out. I remember Dr. John Henry Clark speaking about how did they, you know, come out. And it's like, wait, they came out with great substance. They came out with gold. They came out with the thing. They spoiled the Egyptians. But now He said, "And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age." But then it says, "But in the fourth generation, they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full." So in other words, they had it seems like it's like a cup that when it reaches its brim, now is the judgment of the Lord. So at that time it wasn't yet, but eventually that came to pass, to where, hey, he poured on judgment upon these people, and the judgment He poured upon these people, including the Amorites, because it's 7 nations that were in the land of Canaan that was inherited by Israel. That was fulfilled here. Notice what He's telling him: when they went into the land, they took the land from them. That was judgment from the Lord. It wasn't just to fulfill. It wasn't just that covenant was fulfilled. It was they took land and poured out judgment, and that judgment actually was from the Lord. It says, "When the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and hath cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites and the Girgashites and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. And when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee. See, the Lord delivered those. They were mightier than the Israelites or the Hebrews, but they delivered them, or the Lord delivered them into their hand. He said, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them. Okay. And he tells you don't make any marriages with them. He says, because you'll take you from following me. But then he says, but thus shall you deal with them. You shall destroy their altars and break down their images and cut down their groves and burn their graven images with fire. All that falsehood, you got to get rid of it. He said, for thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people that are upon the face of the earth. So now he said, you want to be sanctified. But when Israel sinned, what happened to them? He cast them out. See, he's not a respecter of persons. So what does that tell you? When a nation is engaged in too much debauchery, too much sin, the Lord deals with them. What did he tell the children of Israel? He said, if in Deuteronomy 20:15, but it shall come to pass if thou wilt not hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which are commanded thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. And it culminated with Israel being cast into slavery by way of slave ships and sold as bondmen and bondwomen, scattered throughout all the world. Why? Because of sin. Because even when the Messiah, when he said, when it says, come out in my son, surely they'll reverence my son, they denied even the Messiah. Okay, so now what did that mean? That meant that sealed their total destruction as a people. Right? That's what happened. Let's pick it up at real quick. Let's pick it up at Luke. At Luke, I'm in Luke 20. Notice what he says in verse 41. He says, and when he, talking about the Messiah, he was come near, he beheld the city and wept over it. Why is he weeping over Jerusalem? He's saying, if thou hadst known, even thou, at least in this thy day, the things which belong unto thy peace, but now they are hid from thine eyes. For he says, for the day shall come upon thee that thine enemy shall cast a trench about thee and compass thee round and keep thee in on every side, and shall lay thee even with the ground. And thy children, he said, and thy children within thee, and they shall not leave in thee one stone upon another that shall, because he said, and thou shalt not leave thee one stone upon another, because thou knowest not the time of thy visitation. So what is that referring to? What visitation? That's referring to him. That's referring to him. So now, when they rejected him, that sealed their destruction. Let's pick it up at Jeremiah 18th chapter. See, he tells you that all over the book. This is Jeremiah 18th chapter. When a nation gets so sinful, destruction is coming. He says in verse 6, O Israel, O house of Israel, can I do with you as this potter, saith the Lord? Behold, as the clay is in the potter's hand, so are ye in mine hand, O house of Israel. At what instant I shall speak concerning a nation and concerning a kingdom, to pluck up and to pull down and to destroy it. If that nation against whom I have pronounced turn from their evil, I will repent of the evil that I thought to do unto them. So what is he saying here? He said, hey, listen, if you would actually repent, hey, he won't destroy you. And that's what he was doing when he was sent. See, the Father sent his son, and they didn't repent then. But it is the case, if a nation would repent, that he would turn from the evil that he was going to bring upon that nation. Just to show you an example of that, let's go to the book of Jonah. We're in Jonah chapter 3. And if you go to Jonah chapter 3, what was going on in Jonah? In the book of Jonah, Nineveh, he told him to prophesy to Nineveh. And so Jonah didn't want to go. Eventually he went. We know the story. swallowed by a whale, and eventually he ended up going to Nineveh. And he told him in 3:1, it said, the word of the Lord came unto Jonah the second time, saying, rise, go into Nineveh, that great city, and preach unto it the preaching that I bid thee. So he did. It said in Jonah, in verse 4, it says, and Jonah began to enter into the city a day's journey, and he cried and said, yet 40 days, and Nineveh shall be overthrown. So the people in Nineveh was wicked, right? So he said, so, but notice what it says. So the people of Nineveh believed God and proclaimed a fast and put on sackcloth, from the greatest of them even to the least of them. So what do we read in Jeremiah? If a nation against whom I have pronounced turn from their evil, I will repent of the evil that I thought to do unto them. So now they repented, right? It said, for word came unto the king of Nineveh, and he arose from his throne, and he laid his robe from him, and covered him with sackcloth and sat in ashes. And he caused it to be proclaimed and published through Nineveh by the decree of the king and his nobles, saying, let neither man nor beast, herd nor flock taste anything. Let them not feed nor drink water. But let man and beast be covered with sackcloth and cry mightily unto God. Yea, let them turn every one from his evil way and from the violence that is in their hands. Repent. Who can, now notice what he said, who can tell if God will repent and turn away from his fierce anger that we perish not? And God saw their works and that they turned from their evil way. And God repented of the evil that he had said that he would do unto them, and he did it not. See, the Lord will repent from what he's going to do to you. He would, repent means to turn. He will turn from the evil that he's going to bring upon you, the destruction that he's going to bring upon you, if you would turn from your wickedness. He will do that for the individual, and he will do that for the nation. So that's something that people need to understand, that can be the case, that he can turn. But ultimately, that's oftentimes not what people do. They continue in their sin. They continue down a road of destruction, despite the warnings they may hear. They hardly or rarely take heed. And that's how it's going to be when the Lord returns. This is Isaiah the 13th chapter, in verse 9. It says, behold, the day of the Lord cometh, cruel, both with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate, and he shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. For the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause a light to shine. This is the sign of his return. Then it says this here, and I will punish the world for their evil and the wicked for their iniquity. And I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease, and will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir. Therefore I will shake the heavens, and the earth shall remove out of her place in the wrath of the Lord of hosts, and in the day of his fierce anger. Why is he upset? Because man is engaged in total sin, right? This is Isaiah 24. So when you look at how he's coming back in wrath, right? You look about what he did before. Noah preached in the days of Noah. Noah preached. He was a preacher of righteousness, and the people didn't pay attention, and so he brought total destruction. That's gonna happen again. Only it's not gonna be with water. It's gonna be fire this time. This is 24:1. Behold, the Lord maketh the earth empty, and maketh it waste, and turneth it upside down, and scattereth abroad the inhabitants thereof. And it shall be as with the people, so with the priest, as with the servant, so with his master, as with the maid, so with the mistress, as with the buyer, so with the seller, as with the lender, so with the borrower, as with the taker of usury, so with the giver of usury to him. The land shall be utterly emptied and utterly spoiled, for the Lord hath spoken this word. The earth mourneth and fadeth away. The world languisheth and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish. The earth is defiled under the inhabitants thereof. And he tells you why. Because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. Notice what he says here. Therefore hath the curse devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men left. See, that's what the Lord will do. While people are playing games, look at what he did to Sodom and Gomorrah. Now, I want you to look, and that's what he's going to do to this whole earth. But now consider where you're at right now. Look at this country morally. This country is morally defunct. So if he would destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, if he would topple nations because and people because they become wicked, what do you think is in store here? That's just something to consider. That's just something you can consider. And that's ultimately, that's what he's going to do to all nations when he returns. He's going to punish them. Because quite frankly, what man has done is he's turned from the Lord. And with that, brothers and sisters, just something to think about. So it's my prayer that you will edify.